5:44 PM, and we'll call the meeting of the City of Kyle Housing Authority to order. I think we got roll call first.
Harper,
Here.
Lopez,
Present.
Salazar.
Here.
I can't think, Brad,
Present.
my mind went blank.
All right,
Just testing you.
perfect. Well, we got a full showing of the board. So I guess next is minutes, and I think everyone should have a copy. I perused them, and they appear factually accurate to me.
Second.
So Salazar is our first, Lopez is second. Any opposed? Hearing none, we approve our minutes. So it's 5:45, and we'll open citizen comment. I'm unaware of anyone who wanted to testify, and there's no one here. So at 5:45 PM, we can close citizen comment. And then, at 5:45, we can recess into executive session. And I think with that, we have the choice of turning this off, or we can go to the room back here.
Wherever I'd like to go.
What?
I wanna go in the back.
Yeah, so, all right. All right, we'll reconvene from executive session, 6:09 PM, and no actions were taken. Next on the agenda is the management report. That's you, Steve.
I'm just gonna go through a bunch of different stuff for you. Starting with Pete Dressen. Thank you. The person that donated the 20,000 several months ago, I was supposed to meet him today here at 4, but he got a late-minute call from the city of San Marcos. He had to go to do something over there, so we postponed. But he tells me he is ready to help again. So whenever I get with him, we've tried several times. He goes on vacations a lot. He's been to Vegas twice in the last 4 months. Obviously, he's making good money if he gave this property 20 grand, so. Anyway, I'm still working with him on that. I got an email, like I said earlier, that Sherry McVickers, the account executive at HUD, has requested a 6-month extension, which would push having a REAC inspection till sometime probably in around June. She hasn't told me that's been approved, but she felt quite confident it would be. One of the big things that's occurred since we met last is I submitted a budget-based rent increase to USDA for review based on 2 things. One was the RCS that I had done, which is a rent comp study, that showed that the rents were 92% below what the market was. And so using that data, I created a new rent schedule and a budget that supported that much of a rent increase for Pete Dressen, and I submitted it to Jay Tyler at USDA. And he kicked it back about 4 or 5 different times. You know, what about this, what about that? This went on for, I don't know, 6 weeks maybe. But about 3 weeks ago, he sent me an email and said, well, first thing he told me was, he says, I've never seen a budget for this much of an increase approved. And I said, well, you just got to figure out a way to, you know, get your boss to approve it, or his boss, or whatever. He even said it's probably going to have to go up the ladder 2 or 3 rungs because it's so much more money. And so 3 Fridays ago, I got an email from him, or Thursday, whatever day it was, and he said, your budget has been approved as presented. So that is, you know, a big ticket. I mean, it's going from, say, 200,000 a year to 400,000. And what I included in that budget was to replace all the roofs at Pete Dressen. And then I included a second year, which would be December 23 through November of 24, which would include all of the exterior carpentry and painting at Pete Dressen also. And so where I'm at with it now is once I got their approval, then I have to send it to Southwest Housing Compliance Corporation to get them to deal with the next step of it, which is to create the new rent schedule that's supposed to go into effect 1st of December. I still haven't gotten anything back from them. My last discussion with the lady was that their rent comp study expert in-house was reviewing the rent comp study that I had, you know, done. And so it's, you know, what'll probably happen is they won't approve it before December 1st, But when they do approve it, it'll be retroactive to December 1st. And so, I mean, that's gonna make a big difference in the amount of money coming in every month. And, which, you know, we need it, but I built a budget based on the number that I came up to with the new rents, so, you know, I justified the reasoning for every line item. At any rate, that's where we're at with that, so that's real good news. Because the key was you had to get USDA to approve it before Southwest Housing would even consider it. And when they approve it, then it should be, once they go through their review and everything, it should get approved as it was presented.
On the roofs, would we try to stack an insurance claim on that too?
Pardon me?
On the roofs, would we try to stack an insurance claim on that?
You can't,
You can't?
because those roofs were put on in 1976.
Oh,
And so they're original, there's no depreciation left. I mean, we could file a claim, but that'd be a waste of time.
wow, those are old.
Huh?
Those are old roofs.
Yeah. Well, and
1976.
they're 25-year shingles, and they're 24 and 22, they're 46 years on the building, so they're almost twice their useful life.
Steve, do we know when we last increased rent? Do we have any sense of that?
Say that again?
Do we know when we last did a rent increase and had that approved? Have we ever?
Well, there's an OCAF, which is an automatic cost of living adjustment, but I'm not aware of there ever being a rent increase requested,
Like this, that we did that? Okay,
okay?
all right.
I mean, one of the reasons you got 5 or 6 people living at Pete Dressen that pay full rent is because the rents are so low. When they moved in, they were on subsidy, but they worked, you know, they improved their income and worked their way out of subsidy, but they stayed here because to go rent a like unit, say a 2-bedroom unit that they're paying $800 a month for, would be $1,600 in the marketplace.
Yeah, okay.
And so, and I personally, I don't know that that was the right method. Once somebody works their way out of subsidy, they should move on. But that was not handled that way.
Okay.
But, and I, you know, I feel quite certain, seeing, and with the big rent increase, it's not gonna affect the residents that are getting subsidy. Their portion of the rent will stay the same. The only thing that'll change is HUD will give the property more money. But the people who are paying market rent and not getting any subsidy, their rent will go up to what the new market rate is.
That's good.
And so they'll either pay almost double and stay, or I don't expect any of them to do that. I expect that they'll move on. So we'll see. We'll just have to see how that plays out. When I took over, there was 8 of them, but 3 of them have moved out.
Okay.
So, for whatever. All the tenant files at Pete Dressen have finally been updated, and everybody has dotted every I and crossed every T, and all the paperwork's correct. That's taken forever. Those are the key things on Charles Young. No, I'm sorry, on Pete Dressen. The only other thing on Pete Dressen is that, and it goes back to the $75,000 donations from each of the two, the county and the city, is I provided you a copy of this list that I made for Jerry that details $151,000 worth of work. And I gave him this back in July or August when they were talking about bringing a request for the donation to the city council. And so, once he told me that that was gonna be approved, I started doing this work. And so a lot of it's been done already. And here it is, you know, November, and we still haven't got the money. But I did not try to update this list because I didn't want to confuse anybody. I'm kind of waiting to see what he says Monday about how the process will work, because I've never been told that, you know, after they approved it, what we're gonna need to do to
Yeah,
report it.
yeah. I'm glad they approved it, so.
We're
I
very
am too,
grateful.
but
and
at
it's-
any rate, so that's the other thing, and most of this work is all on Pete Dressel.
Yeah,
Um,
it's gonna be a game changer for us, that money, so.
Yeah. You know, and the biggest thing is, and I've told you all this before, is, you know, I've been playing bank for the housing authority for a year, over a year, and, you know, I need to get paid. The lady that runs my accounting department wags her finger at me every day.
Yes.
You gotta avoid her.
Well, especially every other Wednesday when we have to cover payroll on all the properties, and she comes in and says, when are you gonna get that money from the housing authority?
Absolutely.
So I keep putting her off.
Motivation for you.
The wag keeps getting bigger and longer.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Charles Young. We have found out that there's a deal called capital funds where you do a 5-year action plan. Have y'all ever heard of that? Do you recall?
Yes, sir.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yep, well, you would know,
Yeah.
because you're used to it. But there hadn't been any action plans put together for a while, and so we started working with the account executive. First, it was, Brenner Stiles has been the account executive since we took over. And we recently, they reassigned her to someplace else in public housing. And our new guy is a guy named David Boudreau. And David has been very helpful. Brenner was, but David's been around public housing a lot longer. And he knows the ins and outs a lot better than she does. And so he's helped Gloria and me a lot. We have set up capital fund accounts for 2019 through 2023. They're, like I said, they're 5-year action plans. And that was approved on August 25th. And then we set another one up. Actually, the one on August 25th, we got them to put that money, to transfer it from capital funds to operating funds, which they agreed to do. And we used it to get all the Pete Dressen bills up to date. Pete Dressen doesn't owe anybody any money, and it pays for itself every month. And so that was with the 2019 money. The 2020 money from that 5-year plan is about $38,000, $39,000. And I've signed contracts to put 2 new roofs on 2 buildings at Charles Young that for some reason weren't done 7 years ago when all the other roofs were done. And the only reason I can figure they weren't done is because the authority didn't have enough money at that time, or Charles Young didn't have enough money to do all of them, so they just didn't do them. But they were done, all but 2, so they're gonna be done. And then I took another 18,000 of that capital fund, and I signed a contract to go in and repair any and all paving on Charles Young, and then seal coat the whole property, and then restripe everything, including all the handicap and fire lane striping and all that kind of stuff. That was with the 2020 funds. And with the 2021 funds, which was about $48,666, I signed a contract to go in and do all the exterior carpentry work at Charles Young and then repaint it all. There's not a lot of exterior carpentry work because that property has hardy board on it. And that was evidently done somewhere around the time those roofs were done. And so, I've already signed a contract for, you know, and I took bids on all these contracts and, you know, I chose the best bid for the, you know, for the best money. And, that will be started. I'm actually, if it's okay with y'all, Charles Young is tan with brown trim, which defines HUD forever. And I want to change the color. I want to go to some, you know, different color scheme just to make it look better. HUD, when people see a tan and brown property, they think HUD. Am I right?
Oh, yeah, sure.
And so, you know,
We can go brown and tan instead. Just flip it, we'll go brown and tan.
actually, I called a designer friend of mine. I emailed her this afternoon while I was over at the property, and I said, can you drive up to Kyle next week and take a look at this property and give me some color scheme ideas? I said, right now it's tan, you know, a tan field with brown trim, and I told her it was a HUD property. And so she's gonna drive up here Tuesday morning. She already responded to me, and, when I get the color schemes from her, I'll send them to y'all and with my recommendation, and then y'all can decide whether you like what I recommend or, you know, choose something else. And, once I know that, then I can let the, I can let the, contractor know what the color scheme's gonna be, and that way he'll be able to get geared up.
So I remember Frank had talked about the CFP. Did he just never allocate them?
Evidently, I cannot find any paperwork where he did it, and public housing people can't provide me anything that he did, and neither can ERLA.
Okay.
So I don't know what, I don't know the answers.
Okay.
Okay? But we're working our way through it. We've still got, to do 2021 and 2022 to 2026. I've actually already submitted 2021 through 2025. And, it was approved on 11/7. So I've got 2 more 5-year plans to do. And I've kind of run out of things to add to it. I found out that all the windows are new in Charles Young, so that when they did the siding, they must have done the windows also. And so that, you know, but I'm looking at cabinets, I'm looking at appliances, I'm looking at flooring, you know, and I'm just gonna keep using this money up. I mean, there's no sense in leaving it sit there, because if you don't use it, you lose it.
Right.
And, you know, we need to be improving those places, that place.
Lighting upgrade might be good too.
Pardon me?
An
Lighting.
LED lighting upgrade, unit and exterior.
Yeah, that's a good idea, yeah. Let me write that down so I don't forget it.
And HUD likes to see that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, LED lighting. And so, that's where we're at with that. Tenant files are almost up to date. They'll be done by the end of the year. It's taken longer than we thought just because there's so many missing things. General items. Anybody got any questions on Charles Young?
No, sir, not
Okay.
me.
General items. The auditor, Bill Rocha, has still got temporary out of business on his website, and his phone is still disconnected, so, Erlob has even tried to track him down because they're familiar with him. I have a contract, that I told you all about last time we met, but I did not, have it on the agenda. And plus, we're not at a point, they need to start on this in January because it's due to HUD by March 31st. And so, I think, did I give you all a copy of the proposals?
Yes.
Yes.
And there's two documents there because there's two different steps that have to be done. One is an engagement.
So before we do that, have we finished our management report?
No, this is just part of it. You want me to?
Well, but isn't that our, isn't
It's
that
new
our,
business?
isn't that our next action item?
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
All
so,
right, let me finish the management report,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
no, just didn't want you to have to repeat it twice.
Okay. On Frank with his unpaid payroll, we've paid a lot of that to him. Primarily out of Charles Young. And then, because it was due from Charles Young.
Yeah.
I don't commingle. And he's still owed by PD $37.91.76. And we'll work on that, when money comes available after this rent increase. There's a deal about Pilot, which I sent you some information on. What Pilot means is payment in lieu of taxes. And there's an agreement called a Consolidated Annual Contribution Contract between the Housing Authority and the United States of America, which allows the Housing Authority to work with the city and not pay taxes, but pay a tax to this, a payment to the city in lieu of taxes in an amount equal to what the taxes would be. Why this is in place, I have no idea, but it's an old document that was created in 1995. This is only a copy of the form of the agreement. I cannot find a signed agreement between the Housing Authority and the city that says that the Housing Authority will pay the city this payment in lieu of taxes. However, in looking at the audits for the last several years, from 19 through 21, it's listed as a payable on every one of those years, in somewhere between $5,000 and $6,000 a year. And so, in talking to the people at Erlob, they suggested that I go to the city and ask them to waive the payment for the years that haven't been paid, at least the ones I know about, and then future years. And she said that she has seen that done in the past on other properties. So I just don't know how to go about the process, and I think the first thing is I gotta find myself a copy of this agreement that's got signatures on it, because all I have is a blank agreement. And I need something with signatures that I can show to Jerry and say, do you think you can walk this through city council and get them to waive the payments?
Do you think they're aware? Do you think they're aware that we have this
Probably
agreement?
not.
I would even ask if they have something on the books.
Well, I was gonna ask him that Monday.
Yeah, okay.
But, I mean, it's just, here we are 14 months into this deal and I keep uncovering stuff that nobody knows about. It's crazy. So that's just an FYI for all of y'all. I'll let you know more about that as we proceed.
So at what point, so that property, that's the HUD property, right? So it's a federal property, right?
The public housing property,
Yeah, the one,
that's Charles Young.
all right. And that one's federal then?
Yes. Well, they're both, you know, I mean, they're both. USDA's, you know, it's all part of HUD.
So they're both federal?
It's just different organizations within, the, you know, the federal government. What's,
Alright.
what else is interesting about those three organizations is none of them do anything alike. All their forms are different, their processes are different, it's crazy. Let's see, next, I told you all about Hayes County, and they have approved the 75,000, and according to that lady I talked to who works in their accounting department, I should be getting that in the next 3 weeks or so. And, you know, the amount of money owed to my company is now $118,525.65 as of November 4th. That, the only other thing is that we had a maintenance guy that was part-time that I was using just to help get ready for the next REAC inspection, and he quit. And so we hired another guy who my management team there, the husband and wife team, that they knew from Tyler. We hired him to come down and work for 4 months until September through December. And he was blowing and going over there, and then one day after he'd been there about 3 weeks, the lead maintenance man, Prentice, found him laying on the floor in one of the vacant units where he was working. He thought he'd had a stroke because the whole side of his body was, he couldn't move it. So they called EMS, had him taken to the hospital, and come to find out he had been bitten about 2 weeks or a week before he got here by some kind of bug, and it caused him to get sepsis. You know, it was probably like a spider bite or something, and he was just putting Band-Aids on it and, you know, not doing anything with it. And he wound up with sepsis. And so they kept him in the hospital for about 4 days until they cleared the sepsis up. And then while doing that, through all the tests that they gave him, trying to figure out what it was, they found out he had cancer in his liver, or in his kidney, one of the two. So he wound up resigning, and he's actually in a rehab center right now, waiting on, he's from New Orleans originally, but he came here from Tyler. At any rate, he's gonna wind up having some surgery right after the first of the year, and it is a kidney. You have 2 kidneys, right? One of his kidneys has got the cancer in it, and it's isolated. So they're gonna remove his kidney, and they say within 6 months after that, he'll be back to normal. And so, of course, that doesn't do me any good having that extra hand there, but, you know, getting the 6-month extension through Sherry McVickers will still allow us to get everything done before REAC inspection occurs. Prentice and him, they've got a lot of work done. You would not believe if you walk through that property. I don't know if any of you have driven by it and seen the new signs. I told you about those last time we were together.
It looked good when I drove by the other day.
Yeah, they look good. And the properties look good. Still got a lot of work to do, but, you know, we'll get it. That is my report on from management.
Perfect.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
All righty, so next item is consider and possible action on the proposed audit.
Leal and Carter is somebody that I'm familiar with. And first of all, let me just say that management doesn't choose the auditors, the owner does, or the board does. And so, Roach has been doing it for several years, but I found out from Leal and Carter that they were doing it before he was. And I think that it could be possible, although I can't confirm it, that when Frank came on, he brought on Bill Rocha, because he knows Bill Rocha. He told me that. I don't know for a fact that that's true. So, at any rate, they have sent 2 proposals, which I gave you copies of each. They do good work. They do about 8 or 9 audits on properties that I manage. And they do a lot of public housing and housing authority properties throughout the state. Their fee that they have proposed for the 2 steps of the process, one of which is the actual audit, and the other is the HUD/REAC procedures that they have to do, are less than what Rocha has charged each of the last 2 years. And so I didn't select any other or solicit any other proposals. I just recommend them, and it's up to you to, if you want to use them or not. If you want me to get another proposal, I'll be glad to do it, but I didn't do it.
I'm in. Fine. Anyone have any questions on?
So I'm just confirming, so on the one for these audit services, then that's the one that's about 10,300? Yes, so that's the fee for the audit. 9,500 audit fee, REAC attestation 800. So we would be approving for that amount in that. But on the second one, for the agreed upon procedures for HUD/REAC, all I see are bills for additional necessary services, which is on, I think, page 4, but I don't see anything else. So this is only if they have to do any additional work?
That's true.
Okay.
Yeah, and I had read it, that this, is the REAC attestation similar to the procedures?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so this would be, the REAC attestation would be the $800.
Right.
And then
That's correct.
the audit services one.
It's 95.
Right.
And Rocha charged 11.8,
Okay.
so it's $1,500 less. I know the quality of their work is good, so, and they get them done on time.
That's great.
So, if you,
I mean, it's due by March 31st, right?
yeah,
And Roach has gone quiet. I mean, we really don't have a choice.
yeah. And I call Rocha about every 2 weeks just to check, and I look at his website at that same time. And it still says temporarily closed or whatever it says. I wrote it down, I forget what I said. But,
Well, I guess we just need a motion then to approve these 2 proposals.
I think so. Do we have a motion?
Yes, so I guess we should do them individually. So we approve I move to that we approve the engagement letter to perform audit services for the Housing Authority of the City of Kyle for the year ended June 30th, 2022.
Second.
Okay.
All right. Any opposed? Hearing none, we have approval there. I think the next one we have is the REAC engagement.
I move to approve the engagement letter to perform PUD REAC agreed upon procedures for the Housing Authority of the City of Kyle for the year ended June 30th, 2022.
Second.
All right, we have a second, Brad. Any opposed? Hearing none, that item's approved as well.
Okay.
All right, so, next agenda item that we have on here is adjournment. And I can't recall if y'all like to do a motion to adjourn or if we just adjourn. but-
I think Robert's Rules of Order says that you could adjourn a meeting
If there's no further business.
just by somebody making a motion to adjourn.
All
You
right.
can do either.
So it's 6:44 PM and we're adjourned until next time. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.